Hello, welcome back to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate all of the new subscribers. Huge thank you to you guys. Unfortunately, it's not an exciting video to make. Well, maybe if we had done things differently, we would be looking forward to this one. But after that chaos, as you see on my background, everything doom and gloom after a spanking by Colombia, really a wake-up call, as Greg said, whatever you want to make out of that. But here we are today to predict, give an analysis and preview the game that we're going to have against Brazil. Should be a good test for us. Let's see what's going to happen. But Braden, straight to the point, I'm going to ask you, based on the recent results, what can you take away from both teams? I mean, we know what happened with us, but initial thoughts.
Yeah, you see on your backgrounds, I made mine a little bit darker to symbolize the dire state that we're in as a team. But I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the USA Colombia game. We already had a full video breaking that down. Did really well, so thank you guys for the support. At least there's a silver lining we can take out of all of this. But the Brazil against Mexico game that was right after that was an interesting one because Brazil went up very early, and it looks like they would just cruise to a win with their B team, no less. Mexico also weren't necessarily at full strength. They were experimenting a little bit. Their technically third choice keeper came in because their first choice got injured, unfortunately for them, Malagon. And who knows, maybe they'll bring back Ochoa. He seems to be inevitable. But they had a lot of interesting rotation. Even one of their like fourth choice striker came off the bench, leveled it up in the stoppage time. But Endrick seems to be inevitable for Brazil these days. 3 goals in just 93 minutes at the international level, and he did it again, coming up clutch off the bench, winning the game for Brazil's B team. Basically, it was the starters who came in and bailed out the backups at the end of the game. Not as dominant as a showing as I think Brazil would have liked, which might even have them come into this game with a point to prove, which is horrible news for the USMNT, who also have a point to prove, but I don't have any confidence that they'll actually be able to get that done. Brazil, we know all the quality they have. If they had played their A team against Mexico, I have no doubt in my mind that it would have been 5-0, something like that. And maybe it'll be a similar thing against us. We need a huge bounce back. I expect to see a huge reaction from the players. Well, I don't expect it because I think we've all leveled our expectations a little bit. That's what we need to see. I don't think it'll actually happen. I think the players are kind of in a state where they're dejected a little bit. They don't have exactly the passion that we would want from people who are representing our country, and all of that ultimately falls on the manager. But we've talked enough about that. Those are just my initial thoughts on the recent results. It does not inspire a lot of confidence from a U.S. perspective.
Yeah, and some people might look at my jersey. I think they asked before. This is Paraná Clube. I'm actually born in Brazil, raised there until I was 13. So for me, this game would be really special. I think I mentioned that previously as well. But I'm with you. I don't really expect the players to have that reaction. Maybe if we're trying to be deluded, we can try to draw some inspiration from our fellow CONCACAF nations because they both got spanked in their first friendly of preparation, and then they had a respectable showing. Mexico losing 3-2. Yeah, it was Brazil's B side, but 3-2. That result belongs to the sport. The result that we saw in our game against Colombia doesn't. And then Canada holding up against France. So maybe we're going to try to draw some inspiration from that and try to respond. There's a lot of pressure on the players now. I think that this could either be a crumbling game where we see another heavy defeat, very heavy defeat, or we might see the players doing okay and then just losing barely on a minimal margin. But in any ways, we're going to have to go into this game with at least a chip on the shoulder to try to prove something. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know if the mentality is there, but who do you think that will make that lineup? Any particular changes that you think will happen, Braden? Any changes that you would make?
It's a tough one because after a performance like that, you would expect a lot of the players to change because, let's face it, almost none of them had a respectable game against Colombia. But the reality is our depth, I think as we found out as the game progressed, isn't as good as we initially thought. And maybe that's down to the manager and the lack of belief around the team. It seems like around the 70th minute, especially once that third goal went in, it seems like our players just gave up. And a lot of that was on the subs as well. Your job is to come off the bench, make an impact, change the game, and they ended up just giving up immediately. So not what you would want to see. I don't think anyone can come out of that game as winners besides maybe Scally and Richards. So I expect them to keep their place. I still think we'll go first choice against Brazil. We don't really have much of another option. Maybe there will be a couple rotations here and there to give some other players a chance because let's face it, the starters did not impress against Colombia. But it is Brazil. It's our final game ahead of the Copa America. To we need to play our best players, and we need to see how they can perform once again against a high level of opposition. Pulisic was subbed at halftime against Colombia as a planned minutes restriction sub to make sure he was fully fit for the Brazil game, which indicates we're probably going to be going full strength again. The one main change that I would like to see, and has been outside of the box for a while, but I think people are finally coming around and agreeing with me a little bit more. I want to see Ethan Horvath be given a chance. Matt Turner has been the undisputed #1 for Greg for a little too long now. He hasn't been in good form for club or for country, and that's been the main concern. Usually, even if he's had poor spells at club or times at Arsenal where he wasn't playing a lot, he was still reliable for country. But now joining Nottingham Forest, his form and confidence completely expired, and it led into the national team. Bad performance against Trinidad and Tobago, against Jamaica, now against Colombia. I think it's time for us to experiment with another option because at the end of the day, we know Turner and Horvath, neither of them are the long-term solution. We have a bunch of young goalkeepers up and coming, a lot of them with the Olympic team, even with the U20s as well, that will both be in action this summer in their own respective tournaments. But for now, I don't think Turner's even the short-term answer. And if Horvath comes in and has a disaster class against Brazil, fair enough. You can go back to Turner. Because I think we all can agree Sean Johnson should not see the pitch at all in Copa America. And if he does, something has gone drastically wrong. But at least give Horvath a chance. He deserves it. He's had a much better second half of the season with Cardiff, regaining some confidence and starting week in, week out, which Turner hasn't been doing. He hasn't had as many chances with the USMNT as I would personally like to see him have, and it can't be any worse than last game. So give him a shot.
Yeah, I actually have a few changes that I'd like to see. One of them I know you're going to like. I would definitely start Brendan Aronson. Some people might think that, wow, why would you start Brendan Aronson? Well, think with me. We're likely going to be on the back foot for a while during this match. Brendan brings in the intensity. And also, if he's playing on the right and you have Balogun who thrives on those runs, he is a pacey player, so he reads those runs on the shoulder of the last defender really well. If Brendan is recovering on that position in a more defensive role, Balogun can slot into the wing on a counter, and Haji Wright, who I would put as the starting left as well, can go into the striking position. I don't know what else I would do, really. I'd have to fit into Pulisic into that system as well. But I would like to see Brendan Aronson, at least in some capacity, involved in this game. And I think that, well, Matt Turner goes without saying. I think that he needs to be dropped. I would like to not see Ream again. Honestly, I don't think this is a hard knock on him. He would likely have the critical senses on himself that he didn't have a good game. The age is clocking in, so I think it's time for us to prepare for the post-stream era. I don't trust him against the Brazilian squad to do anything, and I would also take away Johnny Cardozo. People can look at the overall play and say that, oh, he was good when he had the ball, but objectively speaking, he didn't close on to James Rodriguez on the first goal, bumped into Scali and lost his header on the second and lost the ball and didn't track Rios. Tá jogando na seleção, porra, tem que correr pela vida. E jogar como se tá jogando com raça. Anyways, that really bothers me. I think that Tyler Adams needs to play. He is on a minutes restriction likely, but let him start the game at least. I'll definitely do that, and even put Brendan Aronson as someone to recoup on that midfield if you need to sub on someone in regards to that minutes restriction. Try to help Adams not run that much. But I would like to see in some capacity a hustling team. I think that if we're leveling the expectations, let's level the type of game style we want to see. Everyone talks about us playing expensive soccer. We don't have that quality. So why not just resort to the roots? I would much rather see a gritty team than one that tries to play out well. We're not doing that anyway, so why not resort to the very basics? But then, after all that little rant, my apologies as well. I was just really frustrated with that game. Now we have to go with the importance of a win. Do you think that a win right here, it feels silly to say it, but what's the importance of this match, let's say? Would you think that a draw here changes the course of the momentum and their confidence, Brandon? Do you think it's possible?
Well, first off, I like your little rant in Portuguese to Johnny because we all know his English isn't exactly all there yet, so maybe he'd understand that at least. But yeah, I think it's even silly to be talking about the importance of a win or even a draw because there's absolutely no confidence from me, and I don't think there's any confidence from the rest of the USMNT fan base that we can get even close to a result in this game. We'll get to the predictions in a bit, but I'll just say it now. We'll get to the score line or whatever later. I think we're going to get battered. If we did somehow get a win, I think it'd be hugely important. It would lift all of the pressure off Greg's shoulders, at least from the Federation. I don't think he's been in a hot seat ever in his entire career with the USMNT. We know he has been at club situations at times. He ended up getting sacked. His clubs got better. I mean, I think the USMNT would get better if he ended up getting sacked, but we know that USSF love him and he hasn't really been in danger. But now the mainstream media is finally, for the first time, starting to ask the questions. Even traditional media pages that don't really know the most about soccer, like, for example, Barstool Sports. They're a very popular media page in basketball, football, hockey, baseball in America. They don't really do a lot of soccer stuff, but even they have been saying, Greg embarrassed our country. It's time to get him out. It's good that the media is finally speaking out about this, and it does put a little bit of pressure on him. You have to know that the Federation is seeing this. I think that's part of the reason why they canceled the press conference. They said it was technical difficulties. Come on, we all know better than that. I think they got shocked by the result and some of the reactions, and ultimately didn't want to face some of the questions to the public. But I think if we were to win, all that pressure would be lifted. The Federation would sleep peacefully knowing that Greg is secure until 2026. And even I think the fans could give him a pass, because if you bounce back from that horrible of a loss and come in with a statement win against Brazil, that shows that Greg actually does know tactics. He knows how to adjust, and the players showed a reaction as well. He knows how to get that kind of reaction from the players. So if that were to somehow happen in an alternate universe, then I think it'd be one of the biggest results we've had in a long time. Even a draw would be a monumental step, but unfortunately, I can't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, after that happens, we all wake up, right? Because I don't think it will honestly happen. I have zero faith in that. And typically, that goes against what I've been saying for a while. I really like to watch us win this game, do something, punch above our weight for my family purposes as well, from the banter that I'm going to get. I'm already prepared for it. I would like to see something different, but honestly, I'm hopeless right here. I don't really think that Greg, I mean, we've seen behind the crest. I don't think that voice, that tone really motivates anyone to get out of their seat. So now we're going to go into perhaps the most painful part of the video, where we have to give out our predictions. And well, I know you guys were critical of the Colombia ones. It's a wake-up call, and we said it, but to be fair, on the preview we said it, that it was a very tough game. We gave them respect, but we capitulated after the 75th minute. Do you see that happening right here, Braden? Do you see another disastrous result? What is your final prediction before this one?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. This has been a very pessimistic video, and we don't usually like to have that kind of tone, as you can see by some of the predictions we've had in the past. But like you said, Yuri, the Colombia game was a wake-up call. I think we both, myself especially, were a little delusional with the predictions there, and we have to temper our expectations. And from this point forward, I know it's a unfortunate mentality to have, but I'm not going to believe this team can punch above its weight until they prove me wrong. So I'm going to go for, this is going to sound crazy, 4-1 Brazil. I do think that Colombia right now is a better team than Brazil. And I think the results recently in CONMEBOL will show that. And who knows, maybe we'll even see it in the Copa America as well. But I do think that Colombia is in a better state. But let's not make a mistake about it. Even in this poor form, you could say, for Brazil, it's poor form for Brazil. It'd be amazing form for any other country in the world. They're still an incredible team, so many star players, and they're all basically fully rested. A couple of them came off the bench against Mexico to salvage the result, Vinny and Endrick in particular, but it's going to be the new Real Madrid trio, Endrick, Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo starting together. I'm excited from a neutral perspective to see what they can do. Even as a Barcelona fan, I think they're going to be an exciting trio for club and country for many, many years to come. So I think they're going to be dangerous, and they're going to click immediately against a very lackluster backline that we have. Get out to the races immediately. I do think we'll score. I was debating going for a 4-0, kind of like we saw in the Mexico-Uruguay game from a couple days ago. But I do think we have enough individual quality in the team to get at least one goal on the board. And Brazil, I mean, I've been saying it, this is one of the weakest generations they've had in a long, long time. and specifically their fullbacks are very weak, and our best player plays on the wing, Christian Pulisic, and he's fully rested now. He only played a half against Colombia, and he's going to come out with a point to prove the haters wrong. And I think he can have a little bit of individual brilliance. And maybe it's not him, maybe it's someone else. We saw it from Tim Weah against Colombia before he ended up selling and led to their fourth goal. But someone will come up with that moment of quality, stray away from the Greg Ball tactics, and get us a little bit of hope, a goal on the board. Maybe it'll be first half, maybe it'll be second half. I don't really know. All I know is that it's not going to be a fun watch.
Yeah, I think that if we lose 7-0 this game, we can try to market it to Sports or the general media as just a one touchdown difference, so it doesn't look that bad, and it's just a 1-0 on the score, honestly. But jokes aside, I see it 3-1. 3-1. There's still that delusion in me. Like you said, I think that Brazil really isn't that cohesive of a squad playing together. I don't think that Dorival really knows his starting lineup. He was kind of going back and forth with Fabricio Bruno being the starting center back or not. He has shown that, and he said that in the way that he's going to defend is still not sure if it's going to be zonal marking, man-on-man marking on corners. So there's still things that they're going to figure it out. They will figure it out. The players have the quality to do so. Too much firing power, to say the least. So I see them scoring 3 past us, just because I hold on to the hope that we're going to have some pride and try to defend well, even if we have to bunker. And I think that Pulisic's going to score. Like you said, I think that any of those fullbacks, although Young Couto, in my opinion, is a really good fullback, but I still think that we're going to score 1 goal and lose 3-1. And some people are going to say, oh, look, that's a good response. And they'll try to back Greg. But hopefully, if we are going to lose, I'm just going to say what I wanted to see. 8-0, fire Greg. That's honestly, that would be a win-win for us. Put BJ as the interim coach, and honestly, it can't get any worse, right? So let us know in the comments down below what you thought. Well, sorry for the energy as well, but it is what it is. I mean, the team didn't leave us anything to be optimistic about, but let us know in the comments below if any of you guys see a shock win right here. That would be some sight to see. But let us know the predictions. Do you think it would be horrible or not? We'll make sure to try to respond to as much of you as we can. Last video blew up, so we're still trying to get to that. Thank you so much again for everyone that recently subscribed, and make sure to tune in. Hopefully we'll have better things to come out and bring to you guys in the future. Share, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.